Hi everyone. So, hope everyone is okay. Here in Florida, something strange happened. We woke up in a chilly weather today, which was in the 40s, which is weird here for Floridians. Um, for me, doesn't, I was used to much worse than that. So, I guess some people here are probably freaking out. So, but today I will have a guest on here that I'm really excited to talk about with Siobhan, and she's gonna come to talk, and we're just gonna have a conversation really about women and women in business and motherhood and mothers and working, and I think that would be fun. And I expect to make other conversations like this. So I'm gonna wait for her to come over and we can start the chat. So hopefully she will come soon. So other than that, what has been working is, there she is that I released a podcast today. So you guys can check it out. And we talked about branding on the podcast. So episode 29 of the podcast. So there she is. Hi, Siobhan. I don't think I can hear you.
It's weird.
Oh, now I can.
Okay.
Maybe it was delayed. So
Good.
I was talking here before you came over that I wanted to call you and we had other conversations, and I think we are both passionate about women in the work and, women, job place, and all this kind of um, topics. So I thought, why we don't talk together? That would be great. So I really wanted to get this conversation more here on my Instagram. So I appreciate you coming over. But
Oh, that's awesome.
tell people first what you do.
Okay, so I call myself a word witch because I hate the phrase copywriter. Um, so I'm a word witch and I help female founders weave magic through their copy. So I help women kind of unpick who they are, get their message out into the world so they can do wonderful things. And sometimes that's like service-based businesses. Oh, sorry. My phone needs to charge and it won't stay upright. Um, so service-based businesses, sometimes it's product-based businesses, but most of the time, it's kind of women who've stepped away from the world of corporate
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing their own thing. So they kind of just need that extra confidence boost when it comes to using words.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's kind of, and I love my job. I'm very lucky. I used to be a
I know.
teacher.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my kind of background.
And Siobhan also talked on the podcast, it's still not live, because we're going to talk about life as a business, as a mother is hard. So my podcasts take a long time to come live because I'm the only one editing them, producing
Yeah.
them, doing everything. So it takes time. So I, you also, work helping women with their business and their website. But I so admire you because you also are an advocate for women's issues and
Yeah.
women in the workplace, and you're very vocal about it. Women in politics, which we
Yeah.
certainly have to have more, I believe, not just over there but over here as well in the
Yeah.
US. And by the way, tell people where you are talking from.
Oh yeah, so I'm rubbish at telling people stuff, aren't I? Um, I am based in the UK. I live in Devon, which is a very it's in the southwest of the UK, of England, and yeah, I live in the middle of nowhere. Um, so my internet is hit and miss. Um, but yeah, I love where we live. We're not far from the sea. It's it's cold and miserable,
Yes.
but it's not Florida. Um, we can't all live in Florida though, right?
Yeah, but I see your stories. It is beautiful.
It is very
You know,
beautiful. We're very lucky.
even if you cannot go to the water because it's so cold, I think I really love. I'm so glad when I moved here that I really love the sound of the sea. There's nothing like it. You just sit there. It's like a meditation. You just sit there and you look at the waves. They have something magical. You don't get
They
tired.
do.
You
No,
don't
and
get
it's like
tired, right?
there is a power. They've got a definite magic power about them.
And that smell of
Oh,
the
yeah.
salt water. Um, when we go to the beach here, my son's, of course, in the water with my husband. And sometimes I just sit there and I just look at that. It's kind of infinite, right? We know it's not infinite, but it gives that sensation, right?
Yeah.
And because even in Florida at this time of the year, this is winter time, but the water gets a little chilly. So,
Chili.
not, yeah, yeah, it's not like I probably, the water there is like when I was in Washington State, is like you can't, you can't. Um, but it gives that relaxation. So it is good. I'm enjoying see your walks and also sometimes I go to the woods.
Yes. Yeah. We've got
Yeah.
lots of lovely walks around us, and we have a puppy, so um, we get to explore a bit more now. Um, yeah, it's really nice. I just love being in the countryside because we used to live in London, so um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So tell talk to me about let's talk about what do you think it's important independent on what we do because you deal with words, I do art.
yeah.
Why do you think it's important for us to also advocate and continue to fight for women issues and be vocal about them?
I think it's I think the danger is when you're kind of doing things like promoting your business online. There's a danger that you get kind of in this bubble where you're constantly promoting or talking about other things in your business and you forget about the wider issues.
Hmm.
Um, and I think without those wider issues being spoken about, no one's going to know what's going on. So um, for me, there's a bit of an issue around confidence. So I try and help women become more confident with their words. But
Yeah.
why is there an issue around confidence? Well, there's an issue around confidence because of the patriarchy and misogyny and
Mm,
women constantly being told they're not good enough,
mm,
and that's probably when it comes to mental health as well. Like we're all made to feel like we're not enough,
yeah.
um, and there's control issues because we're constantly bombarded by new innovations and new ways that parents are supposed to be doing things and new things for mums and new things for the workplace, and it's just incessant. And I think, yeah, I mean, the reason I got involved in politics was because there are so many cuts to education funding and so many
Yeah.
cuts to we have a national health service here and hospitals closing, and you know I live I'm about a 30-minute drive from the hospital here, and they're
Oh.
threatening to close our hospital, which would then
Uh-oh.
be over an hour's drive to the nearest hospital,
Yeah.
which doesn't sound like very far. And I know in the US like distances are
It
vast.
is far when you need a hospital,
Exactly. And so you know
especially if it's an emergency.
yeah, exactly. So for me those things are really important, and those wider issues, not just, and they all are linked. Like I hate it when people say like, oh, I don't do politics or I don't get political. It's like everything is political, like from the pencils your kid is using in school to like walking on the pavements or sidewalk. It's like, what's the American for pavement? But yeah, it's kind of all of those issues are political and they matter. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I didn't used to talk about this stuff, but when I started getting more involved in politics and I started standing for political positions,
Yeah.
I I kind of, it was too exhausting to try and keep all my hats separate. And I thought,
Yeah.
why am I hiding this huge
And
part of my,
that is also part of the oppression, right? Why do we feel not comfortable to talk about these things, right?
yeah,
It's
because
inter
women shouldn't be seen and shouldn't be
right.
heard. Like that's what we've
Yeah.
been told.
It's interesting when you talk about, I never saw it that way. Interesting that confidence also has to do with the pressure of society because as an artist, I think we are always dealing with confidence confidence not when you're doing one work, but confidence when you're watching other artists and the
Yeah.
comparison. And if you're a new artist, then you compare yourself to a person that is doing this for like 20 years. But I've never, and it's interesting, I never thought about low self-esteem with, the burdens of society and how they diminish the work of women.
Yeah.
And that is something I wanted to concentrate because I think that women, everything is for us is harder, I believe. There was a time I went to the dentist and for cleaning. And, before we got started, she started this chit chat and she said, do you work? And I said, well, I work at home. And so, what do you do? I am an artist and I sell paints and things like that. And then she told me, oh, it's nice to have a hobby. And I
Like,
was
no.
like, and again, it's not against the word hobby. Hobbies are very important. We all should have hobbies because we all need to distress.
Yeah.
But the problem is not the word hobby and what hobby is. The problem is what the intention behind what she said and
Mm.
the way people see hobby and all your work. Because I don't believe, to me as an artist, and I don't know if you see this as a person that do copywriting, if they would ever say to a man that says he's an artist, oh, isn't that a nice hobby? That's the problem that I have. It's not a problem of a person doing it, having a hobby. I have many hobbies,
Yeah.
right? Other than painting. So it's the way they see the women's job. And this is a woman talking to another woman,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
like, and as mothers here, we also know that I have to say, oh, I don't work or I'm a stay-at-home mom because they don't see this as a job. Because to me, I
Mm.
would put there, yes, I work at home, right? Because
Yeah.
it is a work. And men don't want to do it. They go to work outside because they don't want to do this job, right?
Yeah.
So do you have this kind of things over there? Do you deal with
Yes,
that stuff there?
definitely. And I hear it all the time, and especially seeing, sorry, especially since the culture of working from home has changed as well. So, the burden is. Finn, I'm on a call. Bye. Sorry, my son just came. Um, so the burden is on the mum. So, and it's quite different in my family because my husband's a teacher, so he kind of understands children and he knows how to, like, he is a very good dad. But I know so many of my friends, um, when they had their children home in lockdown, even though the mother is working from home and the dad is working from home, all the entire burden was put on the mum.
Yeah.
Like, she's having to do all the meals, the snacks, the, like, making sure bath time's ready, like, all
Yes.
of that. Like, whereas the dad
Yes.
just kind of carried on as normal. Oh, I'm in
Yes.
my office. Well, like,
Yeah,
well, you should be too.
I had a friend that she said at that time she was exhausted. She said, I don't want to work from home anymore because I have to wake up 5 and I go to sleep at midnight because I'll do my work between my daughters when she's not in school because I
Yeah.
can't work when she's in school.
Yeah, it's bonkers. But that thing about not recognizing people's work, it's this it's a capitalist thing, I think, where
Yeah.
if you're not working hard, you're not working. So, and I know that I totally got caught up in this when I was a teacher. So there's this kind of toxic productivity that and it's infiltrated all, like, most businesses as well. But I think when you're in, like, you're a teacher or you're a nurse or you're in corporate or something, you are kind of working all the time and you kind of get stuck in this thing of, like, well, I've got to work really hard to earn my money and I have to work 70 hours a week, otherwise I'm not worth it. You're like, doesn't make any sense. So when you stop, that you don't see the value in what you do, because you've got this kind of toxic thing going on in your head, like you have to work and you
Mm-hmm.
have to be productive all the time. And like, and just because sometimes because I can control my own working hours, I can choose to work 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. and have a 4 hour break and go and see a friend, go for a cup of tea, go for a walk, and then I can work again from 3 till 5, or whatever I choose to do.
Yeah.
But there's this mentality that, because, and then, like you were saying about the I'm a stay-at-home mum, like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I run a decent business. Like, and even if I didn't have a decent business, like, I run a business from home purposefully so I can choose my own hours. But people assume that I don't do anything because they
Mm-hmm.
see me at lunchtime pottering around with family or friends, or
Mm-hmm. So
whatever.
when you say to people like you work at home or you have your own business, do you encounter this kind of skepticism?
Yeah, it's misogyny. A lot of it's
Yeah.
internalized misogyny from women. There's jealousy as well. I think an element of like,
Mm,
oh,
yes.
like that I can keep my own hours and I can choose when I
Mm-hmm.
work.
Mm-hmm.
Especially last year when I basically completely changed my timetable. So I took Mondays and Fridays off.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped working after 4 p.m. apart from, like, calls like this, or if I was running a workshop at 7 p.m. or something, or occasionally I'd see a client on a Saturday because they were working full time or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And but people were like, and then they see my prices and they're like, who can afford to work with you? I'm like, that's what I charge. I charge, but the price is the price is the
Their
price,
value,
as
yeah.
Terry Dodd would say. And that I have to
Do you
charge.
have family that don't take seriously what you do?
Yeah, I pretty
Yeah.
much everybody in my family, and
Mm-hmm.
no one takes it seriously, like, apart from my husband. Like, I'd say quite often they like, how's your little job going, or and I'm like, I like, yeah, it's very interesting, because
Yeah,
if I
it's
worked in an office or I was still teaching,
exactly.
they wouldn't
Yeah.
say that,
Yeah.
and if I was a man, they wouldn't say it.
Right. I found that because, well, for many years, I my son is autistic, so he got diagnosed pretty young, and he started therapy at home at 8 months old.
That's
So at,
really
at
young.
that point, well, first of all, I was working. I worked since I was 16 years old.
Mm,
And I made a conscious choice when I decided to get pregnant. I made a conscious choice to change it to a job that was part-time because I
yeah,
knew it was easier to make a transition. And at that time, I thought, okay, I'm gonna with my son, and then when it's time to go to pre-K, then he goes to pre-K and I can find another part-time job
yeah,
and I can go back to business. And things changed, right? Because you never know what's gonna come. And he needed we saw that he needed help, and so I took over that journey with him, and to research, to work, to learn a lot, and work with him a lot, and work with all the people that helped us in this journey so far. We had, at that time, we had several people coming in and out of the house to do therapy with him. And I remember that even with all this, and I was feeling like exhausted, and there's so much, and there is also so much fear and so much unknown things. And that's when I start painting, no, just for me in the house. But then it's still people think that you are not doing anything. Like taking care of your child, doesn't matter if they are special needs or not, is not valid, right?
yeah,
Who Okay, do you think the clothes gets clean by themselves?
yeah.
Or
It's massive, that, isn't
the food cooks itself? Like,
it?
but the problem is that many people, and we have friends that they love us and it's their good intention, but they're like, you are not like, don't you feel like you should have a job, or how can you be all day? Like, especially I thought when my son started going to school, I think
Yeah,
people are like, what do you do all day when he goes to school? I have a house to take care,
yeah,
grocery shopping, have a time for my brain because I deal with a special needs child the whole day.
yeah.
And this is, I don't understand is why women do that as well.
I
And
think
I respect the fact that some women want to work when they have children, some women don't want to work, and some women want to work at home. But like, why don't we as women respect the women that want to be home with their child?
yeah, I think there's a lot of it stems from like internalized misogyny and uh, feelings of um, insignificance, basically, where women project, so they think that everybody thinks like them, or um, that they kind of like they've never been able to do what you do, and therefore there's a jealousy factor in there.
Mhm.
So I think the fact that people see you being really creative, really caring, um, they don't fully understand the amount of draining energy that goes with parenting,
Mentally,
let
yeah.
alone let alone special needs parenting, which is a whole, you know, it's a whole other ball game
Yeah.
compared to like normal like
Hmm.
parenting, where
Yeah,
you have
typical,
got,
yeah.
yeah, when you've got that typical, that kind of, thank you for the language, my brain is just not great at the moment, as you can imagine. Being so heavily pregnant, I'm so tired. But this thing of like, they don't like you, until you've become a parent, you cannot
Yeah.
comprehend the exhaustion that comes with it. Until you have had a special needs child, you cannot you cannot process how
Yeah.
much it takes out of you. And like, I have spent 20 plus years working with special
Children.
needs children, and or yes, and I I have never had to live with one,
Hmm.
and I cannot, working with them during the day, they don't know how to push your buttons when you're a teacher or a teaching assistant. It's a very different
Hmm.
scenario, and even then I found it exhausting, exhilarating at points, like really amazing, like
Hmm.
powerful things, but my
But it is hard.
empathy,
Yeah.
it is, and I
And
empathize with
sometimes we can get hurt. You know, I worked in a
yeah,
school with high schoolers for special needs, and you know, some of them have issues. They take meds. Some of them have aggressiveness, and but the thing is that I I have to confess, I got super affected by that to the point that when I do therapy, I had to have help with that because I think society and everything like affected me. I felt less because of it. And I always felt this pressure that I had to work. I had to work like
mm,
office work or outside the house. And then what I did, I didn't do this because of the pressure, but I really wanted to help my son. And also I wanted to be able to talk better with school because sometimes the
yeah,
schools think that you don't know anything. So I
yeah,
went ahead and I took had a degree of childhood psychology and special needs. I then became a registered behavior therapist and a certified behavior therapist in Washington. And I went to work.
yeah,
And it's amazing how people change with you, right?
yeah,
Oh, so nice, we're working. But I felt okay. Now I'm like accepted.
yeah, which
Now I'm
isn't
like
okay, is it?
valued,
You shouldn't have.
right?
That's the thing. Society doesn't value care work. A capitalist society doesn't value care work. So, particularly in the US and the UK, I would say that care work is not valued. Like, you just look at the pay of nurses, care workers, like, and that's before you even tot up the amount of women and sometimes men who are working, who are looking after their children at home. Like, there's no they're all on minimum wage, basically. It's shit. Like, excuse my
Hmm.
language, but Like it frustrates me because those are society couldn't function without those people.
Yeah.
Like, yet they are the lowest rung of society in terms of
Yeah,
pay.
but it's sad, right? It's sad that we get so affected by it. So I got so affected that I have to discuss in therapy about this. So what
Yeah,
happened is that then I got this job and I was working, and then you can see how people are like, "Oh, you're working now. Oh, look at you, like it, you're working." But then I was paying more to a babysitter and to
yeah,
other services to, take care of to be with my son than I was making in my job.
no, which is insane.
Because
It's
also
yeah,
there is the distortion that when you pay child care for a special needs child, first of all, there is no child care outside, right? After school things here
yeah,
for special needs child, right? A typical child, the mother they can go straight to the aftercare after school and be there and do all kinds of things, right? Dancing,
mm,
whatever they want to do, right? But there is nothing like that for special needs. So I had to have babysitters, right?
yeah,
And they would charge me $25 an hour, which
yeah,
is ridiculous.
yeah,
And I was making less than that to be a therapist.
yeah. That the thing is, it's not sustainable, and like until you've been in that situation, you can't like unless you've got a hugely empathetic like way of being. Most people can't comprehend the cost of that. They can't comprehend the indignity of having to constantly ask for help and support. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think, and that burden is always put on the women.
Yeah.
Um, like, and that's a choice. It's a choice we made to have children. Like, so get that. Thank you, dog. Owen, the puppy's just come in and knocked my phone over. Owen, can you come and take Strike, please? Sorry, it's quite he's just jumped on the bed. But yeah, it's yes, he has. Sorry, the chaos in the Strode household at bedtime. Um, yeah. So what were we saying? Uh, when it comes to like things like how much you're earning, I found that exactly the same thing. Putting two
Mm-hmm.
children into childcare so I could go back to my teaching job. I
Mm-hmm.
earned £20 a week after I paid out for everything, and I like because I was paying £6.50 an hour per child for a few hours after school, a few hours before school, and then for the whole day for my baby. And it was bonkers. I just was
Yeah.
like, there was no.
I don't know over there, but childcare here is really expensive.
It is expensive, but you are like and I've worked in childcare, so I know like the reason that it's expensive. They have to pay insurance, they have all the like
Mm-hmm.
stuff going on, and they have to make sure they're well staffed and the ratios are correct, and they've got to be well qualified, and all this kind of stuff. So I get that, but like the government here, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in the US, where they're like, oh, we subsidize childcare for working parents, and you're like, by subsidizing it, they mean paying a minimal amount to the childcare facilities
Mm-hmm.
to subsidize your like, and the childcare can't afford the childcare, but they can't afford to
Well, but
be
here the
giving
childcare
government spaces.
is that private over there?
It's private, but the government subsidizes
No,
it.
here it doesn't have any of this. It's totally private.
Yeah, you
So
have
they
to
can charge whatever they
qualify
want.
for it. Yeah, well, see, it's kind of, it's not legislated. Most of the stuff here is it. Yeah, it's confusing because they're very different systems. I write for a childcare business in the US. Actually, she's in Philadelphia, and one of my
Yeah, and it's
clients. And
crazy that my husband was like, "Well, if you want to keep working, we can keep." I said, "No, I'm not gonna keep working for you to still pay the bills. No,
no,
it's ridiculous." So I
no,
started my art business to take my art to a business, and I see that I don't know, in art, I don't know in your niche, but in art, I feel that if you're not artist in a gallery, if you don't have an exhibition, then people don't value you, right? The people
yeah,
outside that don't understand about online business. And they still think I still have sometimes I had a friend that time ago, just like, what do you do all day? I really want to say that I stay in the sofa eating grapes, but I didn't say that. But then you start to say that, do you know, I have a podcast, I have to edit the podcast, I have to invite people, I have to record. They don't even know about podcasts. And it's like,
No.
so you don't know the work that entails to do a podcast, for example, right? Like
No.
you run, I am in your Word Witch course, so you have a Facebook group, so you are there for people answering questions and being there, and
I have been a bit
it's
rubbish recently, I have to admit.
well, you are pregnant, we know that. But what I mean is that you have things you have to do. You just launched the course
Yeah.
recently, so you have to do the launch process, talk to people, prepare the graphics, and do the launch thing, right? We all
Yeah.
that have business, no matter art, whatever your business is, you have to prepare. These things don't come on top of
No.
us.
But
And
until you're
we
doing
don't
it, you
have,
don't know, do
I
you?
mean, some people, that is great. They have VAs and they do everything, but it's not my case, right?
No,
So,
me either.
and and it's good for them. Maybe they're in business 30 years. We don't know that. But what I mean is that people entail, how they can entail that having a business is doing nothing. Like, do you
Yes.
think my website was there by a miracle? I didn't
Magic.
pay anyone to do my website.
Disappeared.
I did my whole website. So I don't understand is the person that asked me this and talked is a friend. I mean, I know she loves me. I know that. She's my friend. And sometimes when we talk, it's like, how is your business going? You know?
Yeah.
And
And it's like,
it took a long time for me. And I have to confess, I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it with my therapist. Um, because I think it's my nature to be a little, my therapist say I'm a little perfectionist. So it's my nature to be like, yes, I'm doing this. A good example, Siobhan. I just went to a market here, a market fair, to, sell my work outside. And they asked me if I want to go back. And I said no. I said, why? I didn't say. I said, well, I sold, but I don't think it was enough to the work that I had. Because, people don't understand that for me, I have my son and then my husband works from home. Then my husband have to help me while he's at work time and be here alone with my son while he's working because I have to go 2 hours before to set up the booth. So it's not just about the money, it's about the work that you
yeah.
have, right? It's about the work that you have to put that stuff together and compromise, the person that pays for my son's therapies,
Yeah.
So I give up a little bit on some things. Yes, I give up, but always my son is the top priority here. And so I told her, like, I'm sorry, my situation is just a lot of work, and my husband has to work, and my son has special needs. I cannot just leave him in the house.
Yeah.
So, and I cannot take him with me because he can sit still. So it's just things that make us think so hard and difficult because nobody thinks about people that have children. So they put the stupid fairs are like weekdays in the day that people are working. Why?
Yeah. It's again, I think that comes down to like a lack of being able to think outside their own experience. So like, and
Oh, so much.
this happens all the time with different things, like whether it's like, running a workshop that is in the evening when someone's got to pay a babysitter, or like political meetings are always at a time when you've got to have a babysitter.
Yes.
And actually, I know some political party group thing, like, or activities or whatever, they quite often do them on a Saturday, and they provide a creche, or
Oh,
yeah, and not not locally to me, but there are some who are kind of very forward thinking, and they want more women involved, so they're asking women, like, what are the barriers for you to get involved, and they're like, well, I've got 2 children, I don't know what to do, I have no one, I can't afford to pay a
soon gonna be
babysitter.
3.
Yeah, for
And
me,
plus a dog that is like a child.
yeah, he is very much so. He's very vocal. um yeah, I don't know how I'm going to cope with a baby and a puppy, but we'll see. But yeah, it's those things of like, those are barriers to women working, women getting involved in politics, women standing up for what
Mm-hmm.
they believe in. So we need to kind of, people need to go in with a like can do attitude of how they
Mm-hmm.
can take those barriers away. So
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I just, there's brilliant
And
people
also, but
in
also there is women. Um, the same friend that she asked me again. She's one of my best friends, and she's like, "Well, maybe I'm a bad mother. I could not be home taking care of my children. I have to work." And I'm
Mm.
like, "Why do you think you are a bad mother? You don't
No.
have to do what I do. I don't have to do what you do." And that's
Yeah.
the thing I told her. We have to be okay with our choices. If for you to be a good mother, you have to work, it doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I'm
I think
just
that's the
sorry.
thing,
I
is
felt sorry for
respecting,
her.
isn't it?
You see how is the mind? I felt sorry that she feels she's not a good mother because she decided to work.
Yeah, but we can't win. Like, I think society, it doesn't
No.
matter. I've seen loads of like these kind of posts where it's like, breastfeed, you're a bad mother for keeping them on the breast for too long. If you don't breastfeed, you're an awful mother for not giving them the immunity. You're an awful mother if you go to work. You're an awful mother if you don't go to work. Yeah, you feed your children fish fingers. You're an awful mother. You don't feed your children fish fingers. You're molly coddling them. You give them
Mm-hmm.
baths. You're an awful mother because why are you using so much water? You're
Mm-hmm.
killing the planet. Give them showers. You're not washing them properly. Like, there's all these different like things. You cannot win as a woman and a pet and a mother. You can't. So you have to kind of, and I've learned this, and I've been a mum for nearly 14 years now, and you have to kind of shut that noise out and
Yeah.
do your own thing
Yeah.
and what works for you, and you change and you learn and you grow. And like, when I had my older son, I was a teacher. um so my life was very different.
Mm-hmm.
Now I work for myself. I can go to things
Mm-hmm.
like parents evenings and
Yes. Yes.
go to the plays, or go to sporting
Mm-hmm.
events if I want to, or if
Mm-hmm.
they want to. But
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't have been able to do that when I was teaching.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, as a teacher, take time off to go and watch your kids
Yeah.
do.
I could
So
not do some things when I was working. I worked
yeah,
for a short period of time, but I lost a lot of things and I felt horrible because I was used to participate on these things,
yeah. But
right?
you're made to feel guilty whatever you do. So like, you take the time off your job to go to see your child's play or your child's musical performance, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like, the school or the job place, the workplace of work, they make you feel crap for, and this is hashtag not all workplaces, but some workplaces are really supportive. They're few and far between, but like, you can't win. Like, you're going to feel crap and your kid's going to be upset if you
Yeah.
don't go to the thing. But the work people are going to be cross with you, or you're going to be behind on your work, or that you just can't win, and you just have to do your own thing and do what feels right for you.
Yeah. And what do
Otherwise,
you,
you'll
with the
go
women
mad.
that you work and you're helping them with their businesses and their websites and their wording, what they wanted to express to people, what do you feel like they are more frustrated? Like you say that they are not confident. What do you feel is their biggest trouble to put these things out? Are they afraid?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of fear around standing out from the crowd, and
Mm,
they're really worried about being themselves and bringing their whole self
mm,
to their
yeah.
work. So there's this kind of barrier that they put up, and I know, because I did it as well, that like, there's a kind of self-protection around when you kind of, you write generic copy and you put it on your website, and you've got kind of a generic website, and
Right.
you're trying to be the same as everybody else because it feels safe. But the
Hmm.
problem with doing that is that you don't stand out, and you're not memorable, and therefore people aren't going to
Yeah. And
like,
also
unless
you don't
you,
have connection, right? Because people have
yeah,
to connection with this, have to have a connection with the story.
exactly that, Jana. Like, that is spot on. Like, you have to tell your story, and and be a little bit vulnerable. Not like, you know, I'm not saying like share all your trauma. Believe me, there's so much stuff
Yeah.
that I could put out to make
That's for the
myself.
therapist. That's for the
Yeah,
therapist.
Save that for the therapist. But like, I need to get one of those. But it's that thing of like, I talk about my political background. I talk about why I have that. You know, growing up in a single parent family with an alcoholic father, because
Mm-hmm.
like those things matter, and
Yep.
because they shaped the way I am, they shaped my
Yes.
beliefs. The reason I'm so
Mm-hmm.
passionate about social justice is because of my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes a difference to me. And I don't want to be running a business that is kind of all about money making. That's not
Mm-hmm.
why I'm in it.
That's
Yes, I'd
true.
like to make the money, and yes,
Mm-hmm.
please go and buy witching hours, please come and do a VIP day with me,
Yeah.
great. But the purpose behind it for me is they're like giving women the skills, and I've completely changed the way I run my business. I used to
Mm-hmm.
be, you'd come to me, I'd write your copy, I'd give it back.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that it was a very like short-sighted way of doing things. Like I didn't feel good after doing it, because then the women would come back to me, they'd pay me again and again and again to do their
Mm.
copy for them, which, you know, and that's fine if that's what they really want to do,
Hmm.
but their money is better spent learning how to do it themselves,
Mm.
so that they can feel confident in what it is they do, because you can get the words right for you in your own way
Yeah.
if I can help you do that, and so you can rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat,
Yeah.
instead of, you know, oh Siobhan, I'm launching again, can you help me with my sales page? Oh Siobhan, I'm launching again, can you help me with my email sequence?
Well,
Like,
sometimes it's hard because I'm in your course and I'm also very slow. And but I know the structure and the phases that I have to go through.
yeah,
So I'm on the second module, and what I know is that you think that is easy, that you're gonna get there and you're gonna give a formula and I'm gonna know. What I see is that you go through a lot of thinking we have to do and searching and think about who you wanted to, you know, talk to and what you
yeah,
wanted to express, right?
yeah,
And I think sometimes I'll speak to myself as well, is that some people get intimidated to go through that soul searching about their business or
yeah,
about whatever they are doing the website for.
yeah,
And it's sometimes it's easier to have a person that, you know, write well and can do it for you. I know that I wanted to join your course because I always have I always felt not good enough in terms of copywriting. I always,
yeah,
not that anyone said anything to me, but it's an old concept that a wrong thought that went to my head that because I was not born here, I would never learn how to write well the way I would convey the, you know, the story in a more, in a more like conversational way. I mean, I
yeah,
did psychology and I could write my psychology papers that I had to do for school. But then when it's like normal copy, it would freak me out. I would think, oh, I'm not capable enough. I don't know enough. I, I was not born here. I cannot do this.
yeah.
And
That's so
I think,
common.
yeah, that is so common. So I think when you understand really what it takes to do a copy, then you can reflect and
Yeah,
see that. And I think that's why sometimes we get fearful to do
yeah,
ourselves because many of
yeah,
us don't want to go through that deep knowing about your business, right?
yeah. But the best way to write is from here. So like,
Yeah.
you might not be the world's best writer. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I've got plenty of clients who have never got a qualification in, you know, in English, or they left school early, or they never went to university. Like, so they've got this hang up that they're not good enough at writing. They're like, oh, I can't write. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the what is brilliant about copywriting is to sell and to do well in business, you have to write the way you speak. Now, unless you can't speak, then there might be an issue there. But like most of the people in the business world can speak, and it's about communicating your message across. But you have to know who you are. You have to know what you stand for and what you represent, and why you're doing what you're doing. So you have to kind of be reflective on that. But you also have to know who your ideal client is. Who do you want to work with? Because otherwise, you're calling in the wrong people. And I know, because I've done it. So when I left teaching, I tried to be like everybody else that I saw on the market. Like, I thought, I'll put myself out there, but I won't share too much of myself. I won't really talk about my family life or like my beliefs or anything. I kind of kept
very clean.
Yeah, everything. Like, it didn't was
It's like
really
another person, right? There's people that you think,
wishy-washy.
are they a person? Do they have a life?
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't share anything. You know, I'd occasionally share a photo of the beach or something, but like I didn't talk about anything. And when I started being more myself and I started realizing, so the other thing, part of that was that because I was so wishy-washy, I called in all these different kinds of people, businessmen, like business women who were doing things that I did not. Oh, for crying out loud, sorry, my phone's not charging properly. But they, you know, I was calling in all these people that I didn't want to work with, and it was miserable. Whereas if you know who you are, what you do, why you do it, and you know who you want to work with, and you've kind of got an ideal client in your head. So my ideal client they are creative, they are inspiring, they are doing things not just because they want to make money. I'm not here for that. Like, I don't want to work with like essentially capitalist twats. Like, that's not my bag. And I have that on my website. Like, I don't work with Tories, I don't work with men. And until I started doing that, like, and calling in the right people and using copy, and like, there's loads of swearing on my website because that's how I speak. And yeah, I'm a bit of a grammar Nazi, but my website is not completely grammatically correct, because that's not how people speak.
Yeah, that's true.
So and my course is all about like, I'm trying to make copy accessible to people, because I think you hear the term copywriting, it goes, and we all go, ugh. Because what we picture is like the old dudes in the Mad Men offices.
That was me. I was like, ah!
Yeah, which is why I call it word witchery, because it's kind of like, if you can just sprinkle some magic on your copy and get it out, like, and have the confidence to directly, because we all have websites. We all set up websites when we run our businesses, and then we don't direct people to them because we're ashamed of them. We're ashamed of the copy on them. We don't want to send anybody there. We feel like it's not good enough, and that sort of thing. So if you can start with the words, you can get the words sounding like you, feeling like you, then that's a great start. Like, even if you've got like, you can't afford to have branding photography done yet, or you can't take photos on your phone, like having some like unsplash images with
my
great
photos
words.
my photos are on my website. Oh, I took it.
Yeah, I mean,
I
you're
took a
lucky
lot of
because
them.
you have a product to take photos of, like, so there's something like copywriting. Like,
No,
I
but I
can't.
mean photos of myself. I never
Yeah,
had professional anything done. It was
yeah,
my
but
iPhone and
that's awesome.
a white wall and
Yeah.
Photoshop, you
But that's the
know?
thing, is like, you've got the skills to do that. Other people, they might not have the skills to use Photoshop. Like,
Right.
or I mean, there's Canva now. Like, Canva
Yeah.
wasn't around
That's
when I first
Canva,
started
yeah.
my business. Like,
Yeah.
there's just so many like things now to make it easier to set up your own business, and to be a kind of competent business owner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just, yeah.
What do you think that you that work kind of on both sides, because you also have another course for women to get their voice if they want to be more active
Yeah, like
in
speaking.
yeah. What do you think that, you know, something to help women's self-worth? Like why, something that would make them feel more confident in the midst of this, as you said, misogynist world that we are, that everything is less against us.
I think that what's really interesting is I think a lot of this fear and a lot of the like lack of confidence and the imposter syndrome, um,
Yeah.
they come from isolation.
Mm,
So women not talking to each other. Whereas,
mm,
so when you go to things like a sister circle, and we both know
mm,
Shannon,
mm-hmm,
she runs these, and I've been to Shannon's sister circles, I've been to Sadie Tishlar's sister circles, and I've been to a couple of other people's. When you sit down, and obviously it's all online at the moment, and when you sit down in a virtual, oh, crying out loud, sorry, Jana, when you sit down in a room together with women,
mm-hmm.
virtually or not, and
Yeah,
you're
it's
all
different.
yeah, when you share your experience, or
Yeah.
when you just sorry, just it's driving. I can't take my charger out. iPhones are so badly designed. Um, sorry, my ring light thing is in the other room.
Oh, that's okay.
Um, but yeah, so when you share your experience and you feel heard, but no one's trying to fix you, and you
Mm,
can sit and just talk about how
yeah.
you feel and
And also you
express
see that other
yourself.
people have the same issue. You are not
This
alone.
is yes, that is exactly it. You kind of you sometimes you're sitting there and you're not really feeling like talking. You just want to be in the company of other people, and you sit
Yeah.
there and you hear someone else, and they literally are saying exactly how you feel, and
Mm-hmm.
they've been through exactly the same thing or something really similar. And yeah, it's really empowering. But that is the sense of women. So when I the reason for, so for my course, for example, the copywriting course, I wanted there to be a community area where women could then go into the group and be like, this bit is really making me feel sick, I can't do it, or I'm really struggling to get this done because of my kids at home, or like whatever it is that they are struggling with. But to have that sense of community alongside a course or alongside a program, like, it makes life so much better. I just think
Yeah.
community is really, really important for women.
Yeah.
Um, we are we're
That's
lacking that village mentality that we used to
yeah.
have. Like,
Yeah, definitely COVID made things worse. Right, excuse me, because you know, I myself I feel that I need community, I need to be with people. And I think that today, because of COVID, we became this intrinsic people. And I think what women had issues before with self-confidence, I think it got worse because now you're on your phone and comparing yourself to other people.
yeah,
You are comparing your business to other businesses. You are, you know, as an artist, you are looking at other artists and you think, am I art enough? Or instead of like having a sense of community between artists, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And it can happen. And I think, unfortunately, those times now got worse. I think it is issues we had before.
yeah,
But I have to say, though, there are times when communities are good, but sometimes some communities are not good. I remember when my son was a newborn and I took him to baby, I think it was baby music class or something like this.
mm,
And you start to see some groups forming, the breastfeeding people, the against breastfeeding, the.
yeah,
So, but I think we crave so much this bond
mm,
that you're right. Like sometimes you think you are in this bubble because in COVID we are in this bubble, and sometimes you think, am I the only one having these issues? Am I the only one thinking about this? Am I the only one feeling lack of confidence or frustrated? Or, we don't have anyone to tell our frustrations. We don't, I
Yeah.
don't believe all is bad because, for example, if it was not for the internet, we would not be talking here. I would not be knowing you.
No.
And I met you because other accounts but I think as women, we don't know how to preserve sometimes ourselves. I'm speaking for myself. Sometimes I have to preserve and force me to preserve myself.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that we have to work on.
Yeah. I think there's that you mentioned earlier about the kind of the competition, like looking
Mm-hmm.
like comparison and that kind of thing. And I think the antidote to that is to reaching out to people who are doing the same thing as you and collaborating.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely, because it's people are so shocked. Oh God, sorry, I knocked my laptop. People are really shocked when you reach out. So if I
Mm-hmm.
message another copywriter or another person in my kind of industry, and I say like, "Hey, let's do a live together,"
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the reaction is, "Oh, why do you want to do a live with me? Because we're the
Yeah.
same. We do the same thing."
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, we do. So we've got a lot to talk about. Like, let's role model being good feminists and talk about what we do. You've got a program coming up. I'm launching a course. Like, let's talk about those things. So I do Fish and Witch Fridays with the other Siobhan. So she's these little fish, and she's in marketing. She can
Mm-hmm.
write great copy,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't do some of the stuff she does, and she
Yeah.
can't do some of the
No,
stuff I do.
nobody's the same. No matter what you
Yeah,
do, nobody's the same. I
yeah,
mean,
and
people
it's
gotta, and that's why we, as you were saying, we don't have to be afraid to show ourselves because people eventually prefer to copy with you because maybe they like that you curse, and maybe they're gonna do with another person because they don't like cursing, right?
yeah,
It's always
exactly.
because of us, and and that's why I wanted to start the podcast to call on other artists and
Yeah,
makers and also to give voice to these makers that are like me that are starting and don't have a big following and to show, hey, there is other people there than the accounts that have 100,000 followers,
yeah,
and to shed a light. And I have to say that it has been such a great thing for me to do this podcast, and it's the best day when I have a recording to talk with this women and men. We had a man recently, and to talk about art or to talk about mental health or to talk about creativity, or
yeah.
you came in to talk about copy. Today I released one that talk about branding.
Yeah, I
um
saw that. It looked brilliant. I'm gonna have to
yeah,
listen to that
yeah,
later.
but I mean, it's as you said, it's just that contact, that community that we kind of we crave, I think. And I
Yeah,
love podcasts because we can go deeper on the conversation.
yeah.
So, yeah.
It's just really. I think it's something that, like, when I left teaching, I didn't realize how much I needed community, and it took me about 2 years. No, it took me 3 years actually, if I'm totally honest, to find the right people that I wanted to be hanging out with, the ones who got me, the ones who understood what I was trying to do, the ones who encouraged me, um, and instead of kind of making me feel like they were cliquey or
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, just or too like they were really hard on sales. Where I was like, yeah, sales are really important. It's not why I'm here. I'm here to like make
Mm-hmm.
connections,
Make a
build
difference.
relationships,
Yeah.
and make a difference. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but it took me a long time, and I'm now kind of in my fourth year, I suppose, of being in that space where I know
Mm-hmm.
so many people now, and I've got like my group of cheerleaders, and I'm always meeting new people. Like you came into my world in kind of October, November time, um, and like our relationship's been great. Like I love
Mm-hmm.
that I'm finding new accounts through you, listening to your podcast, learning about the way different creatives do things, and like, and watching you flourish has been amazing. Like, you're watching you do all your reels, and like, but that's the same, like anybody new who comes into my kind of arena, I love it. I'm not here for like, I hate the kind of negativity that can come from things. I want things to be not in a toxic positivity way. Like, I just want people to kind of cheerlead each other and support each other and raise each other up, rather than kind of be derogatory or rude, or you know, it's so easy to slag people off. I could go on everyone's post and be like, there's a typo on your carousel, or or you didn't use correct English when you were speaking then, or do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point?
So much,
what would be
so
the
much.
point?
You know, you know, we're gonna have to do many times because I feel like we have so much in common.
Oh my God, it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah. And I have to go grocery shopping. There you go.
I've got to eat.
Yeah, and I love having you here, and it's amazing. I can't wait for your podcast to release because people are gonna have a blast. But I just wanna end, and you said so many truths here, but recently something hard happened in my life. My best friend died, and to see her fighting this cancer for 2 years, and to see her slowly dying in her body. And the last time I saw her was on Thanksgiving, and we talked every day. And sometimes I think, oh, I have to text her about that. And then I remember she's not here. And what I wish we all knew, and I think what the sadness brought to me, I think the lesson that she left me was, first of all, she was a big supporter of my art. And while she's in bed, I would always send to her what I'm doing. I would take a picture of a flower, what I'm painting. And I think what she taught me is that as women, we are really hard on ourselves. And after what happened, I mean, we knew this was coming. But when it actually happened, it made me feel like I will not give space to that kind of feeling. And if that feeling comes, I will fight, because life is so short, right?
Yeah.
And a person that was beautiful, younger than me, with 2 kids, is now gone.
Well, that's
So
heartbreaking.
why, as women, we get to depression, we get sad, we get unhappy with other people's opinions, with my website is not perfect. Just put your website out there, right?
Yeah.
Because life is too short for us to hold the gift that we want to give in the world. And I saw that in reality. So now every time I feel afraid or I have a bad feeling, because as a person that has anxiety, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I think about her now. I think of what she taught me, right? That she would give everything to have what I have now, right? Sometimes when you're like talking about your body and you shame yourself, as women, we do that a lot. And I'm like, wow, she would give everything to have my body, right? Because at the end of her disease, she could not even eat anymore. She would eat by, in the bloodstream. She could not eat solid food anymore. So we don't like to think about these things, but they are realities, and life is short, and we sometimes are so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And I decided I don't want to be that hard on myself. I don't want to have that burden on myself,
No.
And I think that as women, we have to fight and we have to keep on. I just wished but now I know better. When that woman said to me, oh, it's not a hobby, I would take my card and give to her. Here it is. You can take a look at my hobby. But I learned the lesson. So next time someone said that to me, I'll have my card ready and give to them. Uh,
That's a good plan. I like
yeah.
that.
Siobhan, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking your dinner time and come to talk with me.
No, thank
I
you.
We have to talk again after you are, release from this baby from your belly.
Yeah,
Because I know the last trimester is not fun. It's not fun. No matter
it's
what
only,
people say, it's not fun.
I
And
think
I don't
post
know you, but my
COVID
baby was
not
really
help.
heavy. My baby was really heavy, so it was not fun.
Oh no, this one's not too heavy. Like I feel the pregnancy's been fine. It's just I've had COVID twice, um, like during the pregnancy, and I've had a chest infection, sinus infection
Oh,
since the beginning of December.
and you cannot take the vaccine right when you're pregnant. You cannot.
That's,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I've had both vaccines, but I've still had COVID twice.
Oh,
So
that's not fun.
yeah, but you can't take decent medication to make
No, you
yourself feel
can't.
better.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So
Like when you get
yeah,
even like a minor cold bothers you so much because you cannot take anything.
no, like
Uh,
paracetamol doesn't really do it for me. Um, but yeah, I'm fine. Like it's I've only got like 4.5, 5 weeks left now. So um,
Yay!
yeah, it's exciting and
Wow.
yeah, but that's kind of again like there's this urgency of like
I hope you
maternity.
were taking naps while you can.
I haven't had a nap today, but I'm definitely feeling like as soon as I've eaten my dinner, I'm going to go and collapse in a heap. I'm
Yeah,
exhausted
yeah,
because it's 8 p.m. here. So
because you're not gonna have those. Well, this is your third child, so you are pro
yeah,
at this by this point.
I will
You
just
are
be sleeping
pro.
on the bed with them. It'll be fine. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna lie on the bed breastfeeding. It'll be fine. It's all gonna be fine.
Yeah, I
Just
remember that people said to me, don't try to do things, when they're really newborn, like really, really like just born. Say, don't try to do things while they're sleeping. And I was like, no, he would sleep and I was like, sleep in bed and he would just wake up and breastfeed and I was there like I had no power to do it.
no, it's pretty exhausting, and
It's pretty
I'm having
exhausting.
cesareans, so
And my
yeah.
son, poor thing, and now I know it was because of his autism, but at that time we didn't know. But he had issues when he was born with reflux.
Oh
So yeah, so even with the breast milk, so he, poor thing, he was in so much pain. So after the meds, he became a normal child. But I felt so bad for him, like, and we could not sleep, and he could not sleep. He could not eat. It was so miserable. But so I guess it was more miserable than the normal for me.
yeah, my first son was very similar. Like the reflux was awful,
I
and
had I never
with
heard
C-section,
about newborns having reflux, so I was like, but when he had the medicine, the doctor's like, "Do you want to give him?" I said, "Well, of course. Why would I help him? You could see he was in pain, and
yeah.
oh my gosh, I saw how bad he was because he just changed as a baby. So yeah. Anyway, thank you so
Oh
much. Let's talk more after
no,
you
thank you for
are
having me.
yeah, let's talk more later because again, I have so much in common with you. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg what we talked today. So I know some people wrote that they appreciate there was a thoughtful, provoking conversation.
No,
But
it's
I
lovely.
appreciate you being a person to talk because I love to talk about these things. So appreciate you, Vaughn.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. You look after yourself, Jana. Thanks
Yes.
for joining us, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.